Hello, my name is Eva. Welcome to my channel. I'll be doing a reading today with a multiple number of decks. This one will start us off here, and this is the Magician's Tarot, also known as the 81 Quareia deck. This is a very unusual deck, and it's not considered a tarot deck. And I don't work with it a lot, but I find it very interesting and quite powerful, and for some reason it is the deck that I could not, that I had to work with for this video. So we'll see where this takes us. Sometimes I shuffle a while, and so if that happens I'll edit those parts of the shuffling out. What is today's opening topic? What do we need to see in this reading? Pure balance, number 6. Pure balance. The angel of pure balance is a deep reflection of the scales of balance. It is the fulcrum that runs through everything, the fulcrum of the scales of Ma'at, and the fulcrum between the light bearer and the imprisoner. Those are two other cards in this deck, the light bearer and the imprisoner, I believe. It is also an angelic presence that sits in the center of the inner realm powers, with the patterns of knowledge behind it, the imprisoner to one side and the light bearer to the other. It faces the future, the birth of substance, and the manifestation of the physical realm. This angelic being does not interact directly with humanity. Rather, it sits in the center of all the power as it flows into manifestation and ensures that the powers of creation and destruction are evenly matched. It is the being most identified with root deities, ancient deities who have not been subdivided. For the mundane divination, we have, when this card appears in a mundane reading, it can indicate things coming into balance. It is a card of harmony and success, but the power of balance is often accompanied by heavy responsibilities. It falls to you to maintain this newly found balance and nurture it. Now another deck also came to my mind right after this first one, so I'm going to do this one as well. This is very different. It's a horse-based deck. Let's see what we have in this beautiful deck. Whew. What energy of the horses is meant for us today? Ooh, 37. That's a beautiful one. I'm also going to take this next one. Yeah. I've read both of these, but it's been a while, so I will pause and come back with my reflections. Alright, I've spent some time reading up on these two cards here. And it's so funny that they really do carry two aspects to the same subject. They are like a balance, which we have here, between the ideas of being fully inspired by spirit. This card is called the Messenger, and I'll read a little bit from it here. And this one is called Desert Inspiration. Let me start with number 37, the Messenger. Just these few things. It does go on a little bit. This one's actually one of the shortest cards in the deck with just these 2 pages here. But I'll read the first page. Creativity, divine guidance, protection. The white horse gallops towards you with a message from spirit, from the spirit world, his wings flashing purple, the color of healing and intuition. In a glorious starburst of acknowledgement from a universal source, he offers insight and protection for the journey you're about to take. The gift. A higher source of wisdom taps well springs of inspiration and energy, connecting you more deeply to your soul's purpose. The challenge. To engage with this powerful archetype, you must be willing to ask for help and embody the wisdom and power of the horse. The final paragraph in this says, on a wider scale, this archetype echoes the myth of Pegasus, a messenger from the gods and a loyal companion to the muses, capable of jump-starting artistic talent and carrying those who have lived heroically to the stars. Engaging with the white-winged horse, inviting him to fly through your imagination, helps you access a divine source of wisdom and inspiration, allowing you to find deeper meaning and purpose in your own earthly journey. Ride this horse, become him for a while, and you'll begin to create your life as the work of art it was meant to be. And then it lists some related cards. So we'll move on here to number 8. Desert of Inspiration. There's a Chinese phrase called Wu Wei, which I'll go into in a minute. Incubation and illumination, creative limbo. Hot desert winds blow across the sand as an artist and her horse merge with this stark, expansive landscape. The gift. Sometimes doing nothing is more productive than doing something. Creative indolence leads to innovation. The challenge. That frustrating limbo between letting go of the old and giving birth to the new is an essential, though uncomfortable, law of nature. So you see on both of these it's talking about inspiration, but different angles of inspiration. So that's really interesting. I didn't expect that, but I like it. We're going to explore this, and I decided that we will use a deck called the Muse Tarot to explore this. I wanted to explain Wu Wei for a second. There's a lot of good things on this page if you want to pause and read this. It says, in our culture, those who work more, buy more, or try harder, and seem busier are the ones we're taught to admire and emulate. The art of not striving has been lost, and we're suffering from a host of stress-related illnesses as a result. The entire history of Western civilization is proactive. I actually had to look back to ancient China to find a term capable of defining the constructive aspects of doing nothing, Wu Wei, which more accurately translates as not doing. She wrote here, in working with problem horses, I often recommend that frustrated owners spend some time simply hanging out with their mounts. Quick fix training techniques, increasingly severe bits, and other gadgets that try to force a 1,000-pound creature into submission often lead to physical and psychological breakdown, not to mention that kind of fear and resentment in a horse that can put the rider's life in danger. Backing off, suspending goals, and setting aside time to do nothing with a horse can be surprisingly effective in alleviating long-standing behavioral problems, as well as some physical challenges. During that time, the relationship between horse and rider also blossoms. When the relentlessly striving intellect finally calms down and surrenders to the moment, a whole new world of feeling emerges. Desert of Inspiration is a marvelous metaphor for the creative limbo between letting go of an old way of being or thinking and discovering the oasis of the new. Forgetting that this uncomfortable intermediary zone exists, far too many people get discouraged when their ideas or dreams don't materialize right away. They give up and go home too early, back to that conventional yet dissatisfying way of life they tried to leave behind. Yet the limbo stage is a law of nature, like waiting for a child to be born. Whether the pregnancy is planned or unplanned, you're still obligated to tolerate uncertainty. This is easier said than done, however, because lack of control is infuriating and frightening for the intellect. For this reason, it's beneficial to practice not doing voluntarily rather than wait until circumstances force you into those inescapable limbo periods. Training the mind with a regular dose of Wu Wei quite simply strengthens courage and creativity on all levels. So isn't that interesting? I think that card has been very important to me as a writer, as a creator, and this book I think was the first time I ever learned this term, perhaps, but I have seen it elsewhere since. And it's very true that she actually quotes how Albert Einstein has said he would get sometimes insights while he was shaving so suddenly that he'd actually cut himself. And other people, scientists or artists or what other type of creative industry they may be in, have said that they frequently get ideas in the shower or in bed or while driving or whatever. These times when your mind isn't thinking about the project, something, an idea will come forward, right? So that's very important to cultivate the not doing, even though you might also be dealing with inspiration that is coming from outside you. So whether you're in either one of these places, it's good to know that they're both an important part. It's like two sides of the coin of creativity, I think, and I really like that. So let's pull out the Muse Tarot and see what it has to offer. What do we need to know for our creative selves, for our inspirational process, or something that's going on in our lives where creativity is needed and a balance is needed? What do you have for us to see that goes with these other cards here? What do you have for us? Whoever needs to see this. I think I'm gonna put these over here. Seven of Materials. And ooh, the Sun. Page of Inspiration, nice. Getting a lot of heat in the bottom card. So there's that idea of, well, the Sun is so, it's a major arcana, so right there it's speaking of spiritual input, or, you know, bigger forces than just mundane, everyday kinds of things. This is divine energy. This is, like, to me, the sun in our solar system is a good analogy for the creator, because even though there's much beyond our solar system, much beyond our sun, the sun is what illuminates our world. It's what brings life to our world. It's what makes life possible. And so it's kind of like that eye in the sky that the ancients worshipped, right? And so in some ways this is indicative of that idea here, that our inspiration comes from outside of us. It comes to us like the sunbeams come to the earth. I like how she's sitting here too in a Zen pose, as if receiving. And the calla lilies here, what I call calla lilies. I haven't read the guidebook for this, I don't think. Yep, sort of a flower image here too. There's that sense of receptivity, a very feminine styled flower there. So very receptive to this yang energy, the sun. Interesting mix there. And then we have the wheel below, that's worth noting. I sometimes do notice, wow, we have the wheel and the world below. The world cosmos, it says. That's big. We're going to take a look at that too. This is the Page of Wands. You see a woman here, perhaps. You can see with her multicolored hair flowing out. She seems to be doing the splits. And there's two black cats that I see, which is indicative of magic, of the mystical world, of the feminine, and some kind of burst of energy, ideas. This is the Page of Wands is often that first spark of insight or creativity that gets us moving, and the Page of Wands is the carrier of that. They're the idealist, the youthful person who's excited to bring their first great big idea into the world, you know. But we can all have that energy no matter what age we are and what we've accomplished in our past, because every creative project requires that new start and that new flush of inspiration, that first excitement. I like that. Up here we have the card that's in focus, which is the Seven of Materials. It shows a woman bent over her bouquet, it looks like. It's obviously, in this deck, the materials suit is the suit of pentacles or earth, and so it's full of flowers because flowers are something that arise from the earth, and they take a lot of tending. We have to tend to the earth, the soil, and then to the plant as it grows before it can blossom. It has to be healthy in order to blossom. So to bring forward anything in this world, it takes gardening, so to speak. It takes nurturing, and it takes the sun, right? So I'm going to take a moment with these cards and just see what more they're offering, and then I'll look below here at these ones. Alright, so I've sat with these cards for a bit, and before we go any further, I'm going to straighten this up now that I'm looking in this screen. I don't like it to be too awkward. Yeah, it's really interesting. This card represents this type of energy again, where the Seven of Pentacles, or Earth, is typically about taking a pause to assess how much work you've done and whether you are happy with it, or whether it needs revision, whether it needs to be, like in the sense of a garden, do you need to prune this rose bush? Do you need to stake it? Do you need to treat it with some kind of bug repellent? Do you need to move it to another location? Is it doing poorly in its location? It's that kind of reassessment. And the author of this deck, I happen to have the indie version of the deck and the indie version of the guidebook, so I don't think this is available anymore. But if I quote her, it's because I'm getting it from this book. This is this card here. So I do love what she writes about these cards. She has a real way with her writing, and I will sometimes reference her. But you may not find it in the version of the deck that's out there on the mass market, just to be clear. So what she says about this card is that this woman here has stepped into her timeline, but she bends over her laces. Probably, I don't know if it's her bouquet that has the laces or what, but she's bending over because her laces have come loose, and she would have tripped had she not stopped. So the pause is a necessary one, and it's helpful to her in the long run. And it also says beautifully that she has a gut instinct that she's on the right track, and that these things will come to fruition in time. Her project is that she has what it takes to understand what it needs. There's also an element in the write-up on this card on being grateful, which we also see in the sun energy. The energy of receiving its warmth, its life, its vitality, and pausing again to be happy, to be content, to feel the warmth of its rays and be reinvigorated. This person is pausing in her meditative state here, and she is feeling joy and gratitude. She's making an effort to take time to recognize what she has to be thankful for, and that again speaks to this pausing. But this card also talks about how the sun is divine energy, which we saw in this card. And so again, there's this immense incoming of energy from a higher source, which is very, very inspiring, but it's so deep and sure and certain that you can pause in confidence to just receive it and not be in a hurry to work with it. This is the hurry to work with it, kind of. It's not the working with it, though. The page doesn't do the work. The page is simply full of the ideas. The author calls this the rain cloud of ideation. Just a constant flow of ideas, of inspiration. But the page is the earliest in the court cards and is not the one who brings it into fruition. So you're feeling all this energy of creativity, but you're also being called to pause. And that is an uncomfortable place. I've been in that place for months now, honestly, and it's taken a lot of patience and trust. And I would say I'm kind of at the tail end of it, I hope. I feel like things are starting to crystallize and I'm starting to get a sense of where it's all going. But it is valuable, just like that Wu Wei idea of not doing brings about some of our best ideas. It's really, really important, even when you're inspired, to balance that inspiration with listening, with pausing, reflecting, and just quieting your mind so that you can kind of reassess the next step. Instead of running with the project and writing out all the next steps from where you're standing now and having a timeline and, okay, in 6 months I want to be here, and in 9 months I want to be here, and whatever. No, try to just pause and step back from all the planning, trusting that Spirit is behind this and will keep the flow of energy to you as you need it, just like we trust the sun to shine every day. And take it step by step. What do the roses need today? You don't really know what they're going to need after you make changes, or what they're going to need when external circumstances change. But you know what they need today, and that's all you need to give them. Speaking of roses and thinking about this beautiful sun shining on our earth, I decided to pull a card from this deck, Gaia's Vision Oracle cards, to see what else we might take away from this incredibly important concept for anybody who's seeking to create something. And that doesn't have to just be creativity in terms of a project or in terms of a way of life, like if you're an artist or something. No, it could be anything. All things in our life take creativity. So our relationship with someone in our life, or our finances, or our habit that we're trying to change, or something like that. This can be anything, and I hope that you recognize what it is for you. If not, take some time to meditate on that. See what it is that you want to create or are trying to create in your life. Whether that's a new place to live, or a new relationship with a parent or a child or a friend or whomever. What more can you teach us about inspiration and pausing and balance from your creation? Walking the path. I like the sound of that. What do we have here? This is an interesting deck. It's an older Shiver deck that I don't see online very often, but it captured my interest when I saw it somewhere else. And it's always a collage of two photos, I think. So it can be really hard to tell. Maybe your eye might be trying to center on something, but you can tell there's something else there. So you can see there's a lotus type or even rose type of flower here, and then there's like almost a woodsy or there's some kind of water on the petal. Yeah, these are interesting that way. So walking the path, what does that mean to you, first of all? For me, it means that as you have a desire to create something, you only know what's right in front of you. You only know what the rose needs today, right? So you can't see very far down the road, and it's a matter of trusting each step, each place where you even have to pause. So you're walking a path, and maybe it's time for a rest, or time to take a drink or have your lunch. And you don't just keep walking. You don't just ignore your body's needs for that refreshment. Even though there's more path to walk, and you may feel really inspired for what's coming up, you have to stop and take care of yourself. So it really has to do with trusting the process for me, and being in the moment, but being committed to your path as well. And that when you have a path to walk, you can be excited for the path you're called to, and that can keep you from being distracted, hopefully, by all the other paths out there that other people are walking. You don't have to be jealous of that other person and what they're doing in their life, or what they're having come into their life, or any of that. because your eyes are on your path, and your path is full of beautiful possibilities and realities. This card talks a lot about gratitude, and that instead of thinking about, well, I will be happy when this happens in my life, or I will be happy once I have that thing, the idea is that, how does she say it? Yeah, the idea is that when you are happy, you get these things into your life, more or less. Like, when you're happy, you have these things, or you realize how much you have already. Yes, you may get the very thing you're wishing, but more likely you'll get something a little different, and it'll be just what you needed. So the idea is to focus on being happy, to focus on what you're grateful for. That's, to me, walking the path, doing the work, putting the steps in, but only where you are, and not worrying about what's down the road, and pausing when you need to pause, because you will receive what you need in that pause too. Now let's see if the book has anything more to offer. Yeah, it says journey. A soft path through sun-dappled leaves, crimson and green, each step a watercolor dream. Create the path as you go. You are passing from your now into your future. Clear the way to joy. Notice beauty in each step. Breathe in the colors of the heart chakra and live there. You are the dreamer and the dream. That's really beautiful. Now, I'm remembering that I wanted to take some time with the cards right below here because they're so huge. And I know, as a creator myself, and as someone who's also trying to just create a daily life that is pleasant, these two cards speak very powerfully to me. You have the Wheel of Fortune here, that idea of change and things turning, moving with the flow of the universe. And you have the idea of the world being a point of graduating, a point of reaching your potential. Experiencing the Wheel of Fortune. She has been up here before and down there. She has been all of these things through her journey of discovery. No one, not even the muse of the wheel, has learned how to love life to the fullest without experiencing the absence of happiness from time to time. Yet she has learned to enjoy all the stages, knowing she will rise and fall like the moon. She spins and shifts fluidly, wavering for a moment, and then she shifts again. She smiles down at the earth, knowing that we may find these ups and downs confusing. She reminds you to call on the muse of the wheel to spin some karmic beauty to move you ahead, and as she will hear you when you need her. She especially loves to spin the wheel for those who carry memories of discomfort in their genes, as experiences or as ancestral DNA are cycles that she loves to heal. Other times she gives us the seeds of luck and fate to carry with us, as she can use them to seed more serendipity on our paths. Oh, how she loves to create serendipity. If you seek to see the spinning fortunes that lie ahead, she always places her breadcrumbs of laughter and love within reach. Seek them, knowing that your destiny, your fortune and your fate are bubbling with positive magic, lying dormant to be found, and that divine timing will guide them to the surface of your experience. The Wheel of Fortune, then, has a lot to do with timing, cycles. You see the moon cycle here, and kind of riding with the ups and downs of life, knowing that you're not feeling that happiness all the time, but it will return. And again, with inspiration and this idea of the fires of the page with the pausing of the 7 here, there's this idea of flow, right, and up and down, and rhythm. That there's a rhythm to creating. There's a rhythm to creating anything in your life, and you have to be sensitive to that rhythm. And that is going to help you see your progress and help you realize your potential. I think that's probably all that needs to be said about that. I find it very reflective of my path as someone trying to create various things. I find it reflective of other artists and creatives I've read about. And I hope you find it inspiring too, for whatever it is you're trying to work out. Please, I'd love to hear your story in the comments if you'd like to leave a few notes about what it is you're seeking to create. or if you have any questions for me. I'll try to follow up as soon as I can. Until the next time, I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.